Welcome, visionaries and change makers, to Lead with LeAnn, where we navigate the waters of business with heart and purpose, airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's 4 p.m. where I live, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, here to empower you with strategies, insights, and a splash of fun. Each week on Lead with LeAnn, you'll join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs. We'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead with authority and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible success. So anchor down, set your sails, and let's dive into the art of joyful leadership. Get ready to be inspired because your journey to business brilliance starts right now. Are you ready? Suhaiba Neill is the author of Like a Girl, 22 Leadership Lessons for Women on the Rise, based on her own experiences of growing up with all brothers and working in an all-dominated industries for 25 years. Like a Girl is a distillation of the knowledge and wisdom she gained through her journey into leadership. She shares these 22 lessons in the hopes of helping other women on the rise claim their space and their seat at the table. So welcome, Suhaiba. How are you? Are you there?
Here,
Yay!
hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's good to see you again.
You
I
as
was so
well.
thrilled that we connected and here we are. Takes no time, does it?
And I tease, this is the happy accident of writing a book on leadership for women after spending first 42 years of my life surrounded by boys and men. So
And how has that been for you?
it's interesting. So that was my normal forever. So it
Yeah.
never really fazed me. And as a little girl, big sports family, it was always about keeping up with the brothers. And that
Mm,
made me tougher. So when I got into the business world, I still had that keep up with the boys mentality.
yeah.
But I didn't think about in writing the book on leadership for women, how that was going to change the next chapter of my life. So it's been really cool to meet a lot of really cool and incredible women who are all wanting each other to win, and they're at the collaborative level of their journeys. I like to say sometimes you get into that competitive level of the journey and it's not so fun. But everyone I've met so far has been like excited to hear the story, excited to spread the message, excited to build a relationship that is a good fit both ways. So I now have lots of female friends to add to my list.
Well, that's awesome. I'm curious. You brought up I have like five questions that came up just in what you just said. So I'm like, where do we start? I guess I'm going to start with you don't know what you don't know, right? And so you grew up in a family of boys, you went into male-dominated industries. Do you mind telling us which industries quickly?
Sure. So, like I said, I was an athlete my entire life up until about 20, and basketball was my favorite sport. But I tease that I ruined my knees, so I got to college, and instead of playing for 4 more years at a D3 school, I managed the men's team.
Oh,
And then from there, graduated and came home and got my dream job. So I worked for the Philadelphia 76ers for 5 seasons, which was a whole lot of fun, but again, still male dominated. And then joined the family business. So my dad started a painting company 49 years ago, and I joined in '05 at the ripe old age of 27. So I tease I was like the only woman in the room most of the time and one of the youngest people in the room most of the time. And so just having navigated through all of that, like I said, since my 20s, that was just my normal.
yeah, absolutely. And so you said a family of brothers. Do you have brothers older and younger?
Two older, one younger.
Okay. So
So
you
yeah.
weren't just the princess of the family, but you were.
No, I tease if you were a kid, then you watched Aristocats. I was just the sister. I was not a lady. I was just the sister.
That's funny.
So yeah, I was not exempt from anything. Not shoveling snow, not carrying firewood, like, and whatever was happening, the brothers dragged me along with them, and I was part of the fray.
Very cool. So that shifted then well, I mean, something shifted that caused you to realize you could write this book. What was that?
I think my daughter was the final inspiration to finish it. So if you can see my background, depending on where you're watching or listening, I am an avid reader and come from a long generation of writers. So it's kind of always been on my to-do list to write a book. But my daughter was starting her sophomore year of college. It kind of occurred to me that, oh, she's going to have to be, she went to an all-girls school, actually, interestingly enough. She chose all girls for middle and high school. And I realized like she's still going to have to enter the world of mainstream where there are men and women in the mix. So she was really my inspiration to finish this book and hopefully make her path a little easier and her generation's path a little bit easier on that road to becoming a leader.
So did she help you edit your book?
She did not.
Okay.
I hired a professional for that one. So it's really the story of my life, and I tease, I couldn't have written it any sooner because I hadn't kind of realized all the things I'd learned through all the different kind of chapters of my own life and my own story. And the first one is about being fearless, and it goes all the way back to when I was 4 and I was in gymnastics and I was like the tiny one and I was fearless. So they tell me to do a flip and this and that. And I'm like, okay. And I went for it. So she is part of a few chapters. And I kind of was a thank you to my mom for being a really strong and kind of clear and confident woman and encouraging me to be the same. And then I tease it was a reminder to myself that I am a leader and I do have all these skills. And sometimes we lose sight of that. I would say, especially women in male dominated industries, if you're a loner or there are not very many of you. So it was kind of a reminder to me of like, yes, I do have all these skills and I am able to utilize them as well.
That's beautiful. So you really, so you said the final straw was kind of your daughter and feeling like you needed to have this written for her. And by the way, I just want to say I appreciate that you didn't write it when you were 20, by the way. You know, the proverbial 20-year-old life coach, like, really? Your frontal
Right.
cortex is not fully developed and you're going to coach
Yeah,
on
because
life.
they
That's
haven't
awesome.
quite been through enough yet.
No, probably not. And, I get it. There's a lot we can learn from books, book knowledge, but it still doesn't replace, reality and experience. I'm going to share with you an experience my listeners may or may not know about in the last month. My Facebook account with not hundreds and thousands of followers, but well, thousands actually, 2.7 thousand followers, was hacked. I was not put in Facebook jail. Everybody assumed I got put in Facebook jail. I wasn't, but I was hacked by somebody that put up a photo of Vietnam being number one. So I presume they're from Vietnam. I was able to establish rapport with this person by starting another Facebook account and then talking to my account. And we had rapport going back and forth. And I just said, what are you doing? They said, well, give me $200. I'll give it back to you. I'm like, not going to buy my own account, not happening. And I just this past Thursday got my account back. And I don't really know why. I don't truly know. Facebook didn't say they got it back for me. The hacker didn't say they gave it back to me, but somehow I have access to my account again. And I bring this up because a couple of years ago, I lost my YouTube account. And a few years before that, I had an entire business shut down overnight. And until you learn how to overcome these types of even losses, how can you teach about it? So likewise, back to you. If you haven't been through, it would be like me trying to train people on how to survive a male dominated industry. I've never been there. I've never been there, so I could never have done it. So anyway, what's your favorite lesson in your book?
Trust your gut. So I tease that I wrote the book for women and smart men. So 22 lessons, 21 of them apply to everyone. The lesson on women's intuition really only applies to us. I think so. Trusting your gut is the one too that I still, and just because I've written the lesson doesn't mean I don't have to relearn it every once in a while. So from like little things to the big things, if you can learn to really, as a woman, trust your gut in every situation, it makes life a whole lot easier and not let the outside voices, which can get loud, kind of talk you out of what you really know internally. And I think that's one of the things I've seen and witnessed and experienced as a woman at a table full of men is it's really hard when you're the only one to trust your gut, to share your opinion, and to, you know, not be forceful, but to be adamant enough in knowing that you have a voice and you have a place at the table and your question or suggestion or whatever it is just as valid as everyone else's. So, and
Adamant enough. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I know that because over the years I've kind of had the ebb and flow of finding and losing my voice again. Um, so like I said, I still practice it myself and have to catch myself sometimes on those little things of, no, I heard it. It's in there. And I
Mhm.
need to go with it. So I'm trying to teach my daughter that lesson as well as young as possible.
Adamant enough. How does that play out with certainty?
Unfortunately, I think sometimes I've had to repeat myself. Like I said, if I'm the only woman at the table and you're surrounded by men and you're in a male-dominated industry, depending on the topic, I teased when I was in my 20s in college and managing the men's team, I knew basketball just as well as, if not better than some of the guys on the team. So I didn't quite feel it there. But in the family painting business, I'm third in line, two older brothers already in the business. I knew nothing about the painting industry. So once I learned and I found that I know more than I give myself credit for sometimes. So reminding yourself that, oh yeah, I've been here 3 years, I've been here 6 years, now I've been here 19 years. I think I know what I'm doing. But there's just it's not unfortunate or fortunate, it just is. There's just a different dynamic when it's not an equal mix of men and women, or if there's the men highly outnumber the women, sometimes the conversation and the um reception of things can just be a little bit different and a little bit trickier.
Do you have a definition for intuition? Do you explain what that means in your book?
For me, it's that little voice in your head,
Mm.
and you really have to tune out all of the other chatter to hear it. So like I sometimes I tease that it only comes through mind whispers and seldom repeats. Sometimes she repeats herself one more time just to be sure. But I think if you're, and one of the things I talk about with leadership in women and kind of redefining things is the first step in absolutely everything is awareness. So the more aware you are of yourself, your surroundings, my mom teases you can believe in God or you can believe in coincidence. And so I believe that that little voice really is either God or the universe, whatever you believe in, coming through to kind of give you some insight before your brain can catch up with you. So it's really not up here, it's in here. And if you catch it here and don't let it try to move through,
Yeah.
then usually I've never had an incident where I've listened and regretted it. I have had times when I didn't listen and then I kicked myself later. So
Oh, yeah.
again, it's just a matter of really paying attention and being aware um, and knowing how that comes through for you. So it could be different for everyone, but I think for women especially, we have it. I tease men can be more aware as well. I just think women's intuition is really a thing
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
and something that you can really tap into and practice getting quiet so that you can hear that little voice.
That's what I was kind of wondering. I love the study of words and where they come from. Intuition, like inspiration, is in spirit. It comes through, and if again, for if you're of the faithful realm, you'd say that
Right.
it's God speaking through you, inspiration. It's not us. We like to take credit as people. It's all us, it's all me. And I don't personally believe that. I believe that I'm a vessel or a flow through. I want to be a flow through of the spirit, which is God for me. And intuition, I wondered if there was kind of an etymology, isn't it etymology? I
I
think
did
is
not take Latin. My daughter had to take Latin in high school, so if she's not home to answer my question, I'll break the word down for me.
sounds kind of like that. We're
Yeah.
good.
So,
Authenticity. Yeah. So I think there might be the word intuition, I think also has some sort of an interesting background into how it came into an English word, but very cool. Was there a lesson that you almost didn't include?
I almost forgot the last one, which is the most important one and the one that I still struggle with myself. So there are 22 lessons and then there's a bonus lesson.
Oh,
And the bonus lesson is to celebrate everything. So I really struggle. And it's funny because I heard a friend say they're the same way. Like you complete a task, you check it off, you move on to the next task. So that's how I work with the perpetual to-do list. And they're like, no, you need to stop and take a deep breath and celebrate, especially with the book. That's like a huge accomplishment. And I'm like, it's been on my to-do list for a long time. They're like, no, 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 that's a huge accomplishment. So that's the big one for me is remembering to, even if you don't end up winning. So like when I was with the Sixers, we made it all the way to the finals and we lost to LA, which, was kind of inevitable, but still really, hard. But we still celebrated because we had an amazing season and only two teams made it to the finals. So we were better than, all the other teams before. So I always tell people celebrate the little wins. And reminder, I actually have a little journal on my desk that says, I keep track of, and a mentor of mine mentioned that to me. She's like, every month, go through and write down a few little wins because you're going to forget in your path to like pursuing the next goal. And then every once in a while, flip back through and kind of see, oh, yeah, I did do that. And I did this and I did that, and how it all kind of builds and stacks. So the celebration piece is one that I'm still working on, but getting better.
you mentioned a mentor that kind of gave you that advice. Do you want to give credit?
So her name is Cynthia Kay. Actually, she's chapter. I now don't remember what lesson number she is. I'm really bad. I'm a writer, not a rote memorization queen. But there's a chapter on reaching out to someone you admire. And so
Oh.
she's a woman who I met years ago through a consulting group that I work with who's really big on organization and productivity. And
Hmm.
so I kind of went into that space with my consulting and I'm thinking, oh, she may not want to talk to me because it's kind of similar and something inside again, trust your gut. Said just shoot her a quick email and see what, she has to say. And we ended up, I call her a mini mentor. So we had a couple chats over like those first few months of me launching my business. And then we check in every once in a while, but I didn't. And I always encourage people to, if you're going to ask somebody for a little bit of mentorship, don't overdo it. Um, so she helped me a little bit along the way and we kind of stay in touch now.
Yeah, good. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, it's I'm gonna talk about something else quickly, but I'll say Tony Robbins, you can see him in the bookshelf behind me, but he has his famous Unleash the Power Within. But a few years back, a woman who's worked with him and been working with him for a long time started a program that's running at least twice a year now called Unleash Her Power Within. And I have attended that. Have you as well? You're nodding.
Not yet, but I'm
Uh,
glad that we're making these space for the women
yeah,
to
and
have
it
their own
was
space.
very interesting. I mean, all online. It was, and it's different because it's Tuesday night for about 3 hours for 8 weeks, and it culminates in the Unleash the Power Within event, which can be done virtually or in person.
Mhm.
And I did the virtual, but I actually went over to some other people's house and we just cleared the house. It was just us, and we were yelling and screaming and totally in it and high-fiving each other and dancing and doing. But part of it was just the journaling, making sure that
Right.
you're intentional with what you're doing. And the very first page of the journal is where you write down a win, at least weekly, if not more, so that at the end of the year you have a whole page of all these like significant wins, which aren't always, like you said, it's not easy to remember them all later, but it can do a lot for helping you on those days when you just really need the win and the reminder of what you're able to accomplish. So I
And
love
I
that.
think I've learned too, the small wins actually often really are the bigger wins because
Yeah.
they're the ones that are harder to push through sometimes or get over, like that big, big to do, you know, is sometimes easier at the end of the road than those little things that you really don't want to do, but that you need to do to get to that next step and that next level.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think another thing you talked about is productivity. And I was just today was introduced via a webinar with a productivity, I'll call it an application, although it's not, it's more of a program. It's interesting where, and I've done this with people in my business or in my groups where we'll say, look, we're going to meet online at 2 o'clock every whatever, and we're going to turn our Zooms on, turn the microphone off, and just have accountability work. Like what we're going to do, set a goal, finish it. And it lasts for a week or two. But what's different about this one is it's available to sign up to be part of these groups 24 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And then and it's not somebody that I know personally.
That
So
helps.
it'll be a different person, I think, each time. So we're not going to get distracted about the latest discussion of my birch oil that I just got, or, how badly I need my coffee right now, or, because there just won't be that conversation or rapport. It's more of the strict accountability. So I found that interesting. Have you ever come across anything like that?
It's funny. So I am in the process of doing disc certification training. And when I did my disc,
Yeah.
he calls it disc on steroids because you do all of the assessments. There's like 4 or 5 of them. One
Mm-hmm.
of the things that came out in my skill set is time and productivity management. And I rank in the 98th percentile. So apparently it's my superpower. So I'm that person that if I set a goal, I'm mapping out how it's going to happen. I put time on my calendar. I put a lot of reminders to go off and like, no, this is designated time to work on things and not get distracted by other things. So that's kind of my gift. And something that I also kind of try to help people with when I can is simple tools and tricks
Yeah.
to make sure that you get through what you need to get through. So I talk about there's 3 things you need to actually finish something. One is the discipline to get started. 2 is the consistency to make the progress along the way. And then 3 is the accountability. And what you just said, I always encourage people to have an accountability partner
Yeah.
because otherwise it's never going to happen. So I walk 3 times a day and get in about 6,000 steps thanks to my 4-legged accountability partner who knows what time it is. And I'm like, I started when she was a puppy and kind of trained her with these 3 different walks a day, morning, mid-afternoon, and then one before bed. And now, unless it's raining, she's like, all right, mom,
Let's go.
it's time to
Time
go.
to go.
Let's go. So I always tease that we think we have the willpower to do things ourselves. And at the end of the day, sometimes you really just need somebody else to help push you or to keep
Yeah.
you on track. And so having an accountability partner for those really important things to you is really critical, I think, just to make it easier to be successful. Why would you want to make it more difficult if you know that you have to show up at Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and if you don't show up, that other person doesn't have somebody to help push them as well. So I always tease that, like, find those shortcuts to make life easier and don't beat yourself up for not, oh, I should be disciplined enough.
Yeah.
This on my own. Yeah, we're human. So
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
doesn't always work out that way.
The way people make gains in whether it's weight loss or eating better, it's having a coach 9 times
Yep.
out of 10. And what is a coach other than an accountability partner? The times I've gotten better, stronger is when I hire somebody at the gym who's going to bill me whether or not I show up. By the way, this is my new accountability partner. I got my Fitbit back today.
So
It died a few um, months and months ago, and I just hadn't gotten around to it. And last night I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I have to start moving more. And I don't have even a tracker to know what I am or am not doing. So it showed up at 4 o'clock this morning. Thank you, Amazon. And I finally got it working. So yeah, it's beautiful. I'm going to take a quick pause. Anybody on the live stream, I want to remind you, you can join us over here on winwinwomen.tv and come on in. If you have a question that you want to ask either one of us, but especially my guest, if you come over to winwinwomen.tv, we're right at the top and there's a little green button you can push to join us live. You'll pop right in here. You will not be visible, so don't worry about it. Just come on over. We will see you. You can type into our chat then if you have a question, or later we're going to stop the recording and then you can have just a live chat with us. That's one of the benefits and things that we do with winwinwomen.tv. And I'm going to do a little self promo at the same time. Coming up next month, because today is, oh, I forgot to tell you, guess what? Today is either the first day of my second season
There you go.
or the last day of my first season. I haven't decided. I think my first show last year was on April 3rd, but so one way or the other, we're back. This is on the edge. But coming up next month in May, if you have a dream, 41% of people dream of owning their own business, yet only 9% are actually self-employed. If you have a dream, let's make it real. Come on over to Restart Your Business Summit. You can Google that probably. It should come up, but you can find it. Look for my name. I'll be putting it on all of my websites as well. Restart Your Business Summit since 2020. Let leading entrepreneurs pour into you. We had a great time doing this in the past, and you can get a free ticket to this event if you sign up now. So I'm going to send that over to anybody interested. Come on over to leannlyon.com and you will see a link to that summit as well. So thanks for the little commercial break there. And we're back.
And I'll tease and tell you that I actually never had any intention of owning my own business.
Yes, so
But
let's talk about that because that's
that's not what the
actually
universe had
interesting.
in store for me. So
So, okay, so you never had an intention to, and yet, so what happened?
the need was there. And so I tease that like your gift is yours to discover, but once you discover it, it's your responsibility to share it with the world.
Oh,
So
I love
I
that.
didn't realize till I was like 42 or 43 that systems and processes were my gift. So like to me, the world is a puzzle. And I tease when I was little, I was the one that packed the car for trips. I'm like, don't put your luggage in the back. Please just leave it by the back door. And I was the one that packed everything up so that I didn't get hit in the head with a suitcase and you could still see out of the back. So my whole life, that's how my brain works, which I didn't realize. And if you don't know what your gift is, ask somebody really close to you and they can probably tell you very easily what it is. So it's something usually that comes very simply to you and doesn't feel hard. But not everybody can do it. So once I discovered that systems and processes, especially around business operations, and crafted all these tools for our business, and then my industry network peers were like, yeah, you need to share that with the rest of us, please, and thank you. So we don't have to pull our hair out trying to figure all this out. So hence the consulting business. But yeah, it was never on my to-do list of things to do. Writing the book was, but yeah, owning my own business wasn't on the list.
So spatial awareness, like you're kind of talking about with packing the car, was actually one of my strengths as well. My background in computer science is all logic, it's all systems and programming. So that's where another way that we connected and that we have in common. But um, these systems that you've put together then. So tell me who do you like to work with?
So people in the contracting space, construction industry, like painting, remodeling, actually work with a lot of landscapers and pond people, believe it or not. That's what I know really well. But I've also, so when I started, it was just painters because I again was like, that's all I know, and I don't think I can help somebody that's not a painter. And then I realized, no, no, the foundation for contracting-based businesses is pretty similar. So if you're in that space, and then I've since then branched out a little bit more if you need help with just overall productivity in running your business, in terms of like day to day and how do I get through what I need to get through every week to be successful by the end of the year. Um, I help people with that as well. So just trying to get rid of the fear and expand my horizons. And if my favorite thing to be is helpful. So I don't know if it's on that shelf or not. I read a book years ago called Cure for the Common Life. And it's like supposed to help you figure out what you're meant to do. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to pinpoint exactly what I'm supposed to do with my life. And it's not quite that, not that easy. But what I did discover is my favorite thing to be is helpful. So if I have some information that will be helpful to you and I can give it to you and teach you how to use it, that makes me happy at the end of the day.
So what's the biggest system that contractors typically need?
So I call it a singular operating system so that everybody's working off of the same. And my business is called the Full Circle Business because it's circle, it's all connected. And for me and for us, and the way my dad started the business, it's really all about customer service. So how do I put systems in place behind the scenes so that the customer gets an amazing experience at every stop along the wheel? So in the contracting world, You call first to make the appointment, and you talk to somebody on the phone, then someone comes out to take a walk around your house and look at it. You meet that person, and somebody else comes to actually do the work. And we got to bill you, and we got to close down the job and make sure you're happy. So every stop, there are 8 on the circle. Every stop along the way, there's either a script or a process or a checklist or a system that we use so that that experience is consistent and you have a happy customer at the end of it all.
So we've been working through a system as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, the way we met, our first phone call together, what we've done since then, putting together graphics, emails that you've received. How many of those emails do you think I actually sent?
You personally, I'm going to say 0. It's all automated, right? Yeah.
It's not actually. I mean,
Okay.
automated from the sense that my VA sent them. They
Right.
had to be customized to you. Your photos had to be put in, your name, your information. But for the bulk of it, yeah, it was pre-written. It didn't have to be rewritten every time for every person. But yeah, there's very much a system, and we use Trello to work through that project management system because it's just boom, 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 move the card down, onto the next step and onto the next person. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
It is. And so I tease to people what the goal of every system is to be as simple as possible,
Hmm.
as easy as possible. Simple and easy aren't always the same.
Okay.
Um, Repeatable
Yeah.
and universal. So when in our world, when you're hiring new people, you want to be able to teach them pretty quickly and that they're all using the same system and not
Hmm.
10 different people doing it 10 different ways. So the consistency part is really critical in like that repeatability. We're going to do this the same way at this house and at the next house and at the next house and the next house. No matter which crew you get, you know you're going to get that same level of experience.
Hmm.
So it's a little trickier because in service-based businesses,
Yeah.
you can automate some things, but literally going to somebody's house and doing the work is a person. And so the person has to be trained in how to execute in a consistent way and, like I said, a repeatable way so that all the customers are getting a similar experience and they're happy at the end of the job.
Got it. Wow. Yeah, well, I'm even more fascinated because I don't think we got this far when we were talking initially. I just met you, liked you, understood what you're doing, the space that you're in, the book, and how you serve is all just wonderful. So I'm really happy that you could spend some time with me here today. We are going to end this recording not so far from now and bring this into the question and answer, which is private. So once again, I want to let the people in the audience here, as well as anybody on the live streaming service, that's coming up. Come on over to winwinwomen.tv if you want to ask either of us a question. I'm going to also invite you in a moment to share how people can reach you, and you have a special gift I'm going to share as well. But before that, I have a question. So you grew up in this all male dominated household with a strong mom. Yay. Yay for strong moms. Um, when you were 8 or 9 years old, what do you remember playing? What do you remember doing?
Oh, we were not allowed inside. You came home after school, you got a snack, maybe you did some homework, and then you were back outside until dinner time. So a lot of street hockey, a lot of bike riding, and there was a park 2 blocks from us. You had to cross the street together because I grew up on a little bit of a busy street. So you had to cross the street together, and then it was one more block, and you were in the park with a creek. And actually, there was a big hill there, which is where we went sledding in the winter time. So we were outside
Yeah.
and getting, your knees dirty and rubbing and, elbows with everybody else. Thankfully, there were also a lot of other kids on our block that kind of fell in the same age brackets of us.
Hmm.
So there were always enough people to kind of get a game of something going on with at least, 6 or 8 people in the mix.
So what was your role in that mix? Were you just one of the guys, or were you part of the organization, part of the leadership?
Back then, I probably wasn't a leader so much because I was tiny and the little sister to a degree. So if we were playing street hockey, my oldest brother actually played ice hockey. So he was kind of, in charge of all of that. Once my little brother came along and got old enough for us to be out together doing stuff, then I kind of was the leader and he tagged along with me.
Mhm.
But I think it kind of probably depended on where we were and what we were up to and who was in the mix. Whenever the oldest is in the mix, they're always in charge, whether you want them to be or not, I think, at
True.
least in my house.
Yeah.
But I was definitely just one of the kids on the street playing. I tease like I probably bruised every rib in my body when I was little playing street hockey and getting, elbowed and throwing some elbows back and learn how to take a timeout and breathe for a minute if I needed to and then jump back in the game. But yeah, we were all kind of pretty much, I'd say, equal when we're out and about in the neighborhood.
Oh, very cool. Were there things that you especially like relieved? Like, okay, finally we get to do this versus that, or just was everything just wonderful and fun?
No, I was like 110% tomboy. So I was
Yeah.
always happy to be playing a sport of some sort. I teased my mom was great at laundry, so we didn't get in trouble about getting, grass stains on your pants. So she was really good, still is. If I spill something, I still take my sweaters to her and she gets them clean for me. Um, but yeah, so no,
That's
just
great.
encouraged to be outside and be active and, you know,
Good.
use up that energy.
How did you carry that on to mothering your daughter?
It's funny because she's not a sports kid.
Oh,
So I've turned her into a Sixers fan. But she was, so they talk about like you either math or science or your kind of
yeah.
art and language. And I discovered I am whole brain, so I have a little bit of both. She is that
Yeah.
art and language kid all the way. So a lot of it was learning to pause before I said no, because she always wanted to do something like crafty. And I'm like, this is going to be a mess. And I had to remind myself like how bad is it really going to be, and learn to let her be creative. So she had and still does in all the different houses we lived in a space that's hers that, paint and markers and tie-dye and, all the things are there. And I kind of just let it be. So just letting her be her is the biggest thing that I think um, I've learned through motherhood. And also, like I said, having my mom in the mix to share with me the lessons that are worth, keeping, like she always teases that I'm only going to fight with you over the really important things and the other things that don't really matter. I'm not going to fight with you over. So like my older brother wore shorts to school in February and, it was snowing outside. And she's like, that's what you want to wear? Go ahead. And then he came home and he said, Mom, can I wear pants tomorrow? She said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's not worth the fight, So you
The whole
fight over
pick
the
your
important
battle.
things
Yeah.
and you
Pick your
let them
battles. It's so
be
worth
them.
it.
Yeah, let them be themselves otherwise.
Yeah. I we would pick our battles as well, and our daughters wanted to if they change hair color. We're like, it can get cut off or it can grow out. So, marking their bodies in a way before they're 18 was a different thing. We're like, no, you can choose
Yep.
to wait. You will choose to wait on those much as we could. But yeah, pick your battles and it makes life a lot easier. So it sounds like I often like to hear how we carry our inner child into who we become as adults. And so, what I hear in your story is just that it was really setting the foundation for you to have a very successful young adulthood, as well as prepare you to go into this stage of where you are today and all that you're doing. So I love that. It's beautiful. Well, I know you had also sent, and I'm looking for my chat now, which always seems to find its way around my screen. Um, but you shared a gift with us as well. That you said, "Are you ready to say farewell to fear and take the leap?" I love that how you wrote this. It's beautifully written, by the way. The world needs you to turn your big dream into a reality. But if you need some help getting started and seeing it through to the end, here's a proven framework to help you map out a game plan for successful completion. Yay! So you've provided that with a website. It's the fullcirclebusiness.net and then /leap. Anybody that comes into the chat, again, here at winwinwomen.tv, pick the green button. We can give you the link right here in the chat while we're still here until the top of the hour. So feel free to jump over and grab that. And thank you for sharing that. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that at all?
again, so it goes back to when I was little and being fearless, and then also the big dreams and having that productivity and that kind of push to finish what I start and
Hmm.
crafted it into. So it's the model I used actually to write my book and to launch my business. And so I share kind of my process for if you have a big dream,
Hmm.
it's for you, it's for a reason. Let's identify what it is, and then let's figure out why you think you have that desire to create whatever it is. And I tease the like writing a book is a 1 to 2 year commitment. So my writing mentor always used to tell us when we were working on stories and manuscripts, like, be sure that you really love this because you're gonna be working on it for a really long time. So pick one that you really, really love and that you're going to be willing to be committed to, because there will come a point when you get tired of it. But to get to the end, you have to work through that. So it's just, like you said, the framework I use to identify and then map out a really clear game plan. And then the big piece on there again is finding someone to help with the accountability piece. So I had a friend who I told, all right, I'm writing this book, I'm setting a deadline, I have a goal. You have permission to check in with me and ask me how I'm doing whenever and however often you want to kind of continue to push me through to the finish line. And I tease that technically my book came out later than planned, but it actually came out on my daughter's birthday, which is
Um,
exactly when it was supposed to come out because it was a gift to her. So um, late is not the same as not ever finished. So
absolutely.
we're okay with a little late technically, as long as you do reach the finish line. So again, like I said, just something hopefully helpful and inspiring to get somebody to get that dream out of their head. I always teased to my mom when I was little, like I would make lists all the time. So for holidays, like, or if I had goals, I'm writing a list. When you write it down, it becomes real.
Yeah.
When it's in your head, it's still just a dream. But when you are able to write it down and then work your way through it, then it becomes real and then you can actually make it happen.
So once again, Suhaiba Neill, Neill, and the name of her book is Like a Girl, 22 Leadership Lessons for Women on the Rise. And I assume people can find that through Amazon, but probably your
Yep.
own website.
Yep, both
Mm.
places. And I'll tell you the reason it's called Like a Girl is because I grew up with all brothers, and every time I played a sport, they told me, don't do it like a girl.
Yeah, right.
And there's actually an advantage to doing things like a girl.
Like a
So
Girl.
hence the title.
I love it. Anywhere else that people can especially find you active on social media, whether it be LinkedIn or otherwhere?
I am, yeah, I'm on all the channels. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. And I was like, when you were talking about getting hacked, passwords are like the bane of my existence, but I have really, really strong passwords now because there was a year in our business when our actual URL for our business got hacked. And so if you went to our Google Analytics, there's a flat line in there for a minute
Uh,
where we were completely down. We did get Google blacklisted. Thankfully, we own .net and .com, so we rebuilt on the other one and relaunched and redirected, and then kind of got things back under control. But now the password to get to our website domain name for our business is like ridiculous because
yeah.
I'm never going through that again. But yeah, so I'm on all the channels now and have strong passwords to make sure that I can
And double
avoid that.
authentication. Everybody's
Yep.
like, oh, it's going to take so long. It really doesn't take that long. However you use it with an authenticator app or even a text message. I mean, just do a double authentication. Trust me, losing 15 years
Yeah.
of memories and communications and contacts, and it was just painful. I would do authenticator app daily, hourly if I had to avoid going through that again. So yeah, word to the wise from productivity coach. Here we go. So I want to thank you again for being here. So appreciate this conversation. And of course, we'll have this on replay for those of you who are watching on replay. Thanks for watching. Come back though. Come join this live video at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Mondays, which is when we do this exact event. So I'm going to close up here now, but we are still live. So come on over to winwinwomen.tv. And thank you again for sharing your story, your history, where you've come from, and a little bit of where you're going. And I look forward to seeing that too.
Thank you for having me.